Great. We are live. Welcome to our long-term care webinar.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Looks like we'll take about another minute or so before we start the presentation. Just let everyone come on in and get settled. How are you today, Jason?
I am well, thank you. How are you, Edgar?
I can't complain. It's a little cooler today than the last few days, so I appreciate that.
We got to have ebbs and flows around here, right?
That's right. Yeah, but no complaints either way. It's beautiful.
That's right. I agree.
Good.
All right. Well, I think we'll get started, and anyone else who's joining us can just hop in. And of course, anyone listening to the recording of this will have all the information as well. Also, if you're live with us, you will get a recording at the end that will be available to you, and it'll also be posted on our website. So we are covering the topic today of long-term care. That's a fan favorite. And yeah, lots of fun stuff that we'll cover, talk about, and uncover as we look through what it means to take care of things later in life. So do want to go through, I know we have a few people on the webinar today who don't know us, and so just want to make sure you guys know who we are. So we are Financial Freedom Wealth Management Group. That's the acronym FFWMG. That's a long one. So, but yeah, we've been around since 2001. So we are a comprehensive wealth management firm. We're really here to make sure you're successful in your financial life, your financial future, making sure that you have what you need. And so we're available for all things finance related to help you get there. And we do actually get to manage your funds and help you walk and navigate your next steps, whatever that may be as you're pursuing financial freedom. We serve retirees and also pre-retirees. A lot of people come to us before they're actually done working, which we can definitely help you that way, get a good plan in place, get things set up. Also business owners, we've got quite a number of business owners, small business owners in particular, that are also navigating how to do business as it relates to finances and their financial future. So glad to help those folks. And then anyone going through transitions. I mean, life is filled with transitions, jobs, life changes, marriage, divorce, widow, kids, you name it. There's a transition in there that you may need help with. And so those are people that we have especially committed to serving as well. Okay, and I do want to show you a picture of our beautiful team. This is 15 of us. We actually are 16 right now. Ethan's picture is not up yet. And we just hired 2 more. So we're growing all to serve our clients. So it's really fun. We have a great time. We actually just had a team day yesterday where we all got together and we're able to share stories and just the love that we have for each other. So it was quite fun. So, and I do want to introduce Edgar. So he has been a wealth advisor with us for 4 years now, coming up on your 4th year with the company, right? Or no, just past it. So Edgar is, well, he graduated, I want to say this first, from, I would say, the best college. Now, I know some of our teammates may get a little upset, so I can't say that fully. But Edgar is actually an honors graduate from Oregon State University, where I also went, obviously. Has his bachelor's degree focused in finance and economics. And in his spare time, he loves to do things like hiking and soccer, rooting for the sports teams. And my favorite is disc golf. I mean, Edgar, you're an avid disc golfer. And you also have a fiance now. So lots of fun stuff. So
Yeah.
glad to have you here presenting with me, Edgar.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I want to take a moment to introduce you for those who don't know Jason. So, Jason is a certified financial planner, CFP. He's the vice president and chief operating officer here at Financial Freedom as well. In Oregon State. So that's awesome. But Jason also has his MBA in finance from Waldron University. So Jason is also very actively involved in his local community. And in your leisure time, you do enjoy spending time with your wife and your 3 kids. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah, we make a great team, so it's fun to have us working on this together.
Yeah.
So, oh, I'll let you
Let's
take it
go ahead and
away.
get started. So, long-term care insurance. So, there are 3 things that we're going to go ahead and focus on today. What is long-term care? How much does it cost? And what are your options? So, many people over the age of 65 are expected to eventually need some sort of long-term care. Therefore, it makes sense to have a better understanding of what it is and how it works, and to consider what you can do to prepare financially for that. So these are the 3 questions that we're going to be addressing today. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So question number 1, what is long-term care? It is ongoing help with the daily activities, also known as activities of daily living, ADL. It does not necessarily relate to medical care, but rather it's assistance and or supervision with the ADLs, such as bathing, dressing, continence, toileting, transferring, and eating. So when you or a loved one requires help with at least 2 out of the 6 ADLs, long-term care protection may help you cover those costs. So next, I want to focus on where is this care provided. So to help dispel one of the most common misconceptions about long-term care, it can be received in many different settings. It does not have to be a nursing home. Although that is one of the places where you can go to receive long-term care, it is not the only one. So as we can see here on the screen, there are a number of places where you can go. But for today, I'm going to focus on just a few of them. So the first one is home care. So this can be taken care of by a unpaid caregiver. This oftentimes is a family member or a family friend. It could also be homemaker services or a nurse, home care aide, and or therapist that actually comes to your home to provide these services for you. The next one is assisted living facilities. So these provide supervision and assistance with ADLs. They do a lot of coordination of services with outside providers, and they monitor your activity, health, safety, and well-being. So it's a little bit more involved, and it is outside of the home. And then the third one is the nursing home. This is the most comprehensive in terms of range of services, including nursing, care, and even 24-hour supervision in certain cases. So many different options for you, and you can find the one that fits your needs as well. The third question is, well, how much does this cost? So all these numbers here are national averages for annual care costs. So on the more upper end of things, you have skilled nursing facilities. So that's a private room. It's going to cost about $110,000 per year. And then in second place, home health care agency. So they'll come in for about 60 hours per week at $25 an hour. That's going to cost around $78,000 per year to receive that. And then the third one listed is the assisted living facility. A 1-bedroom is about 58,000, maybe 58.5, as we can see here. So when planning for long-term care, it is important to consider what type of care do you think you want and the associated costs with receiving it. So, with all that being said, there are some common myths that I want to take a moment to talk about. And just look at the reality of how this tends to play out. So the first myth is it won't happen to me. I'm not going to need long-term care. The reality is, statistics show that 70% of all individuals turning 65 will need some type of long term care during their lifetime. So it is true that not everyone is going to need it, but a vast majority of us are going to. So it's important to prepare just in case. Number two, that's what my savings are for. So national averages for private room in a licensed nursing home, is over $97,000 per year. Typical clients end up spending savings 2 to 3 times faster than planned. So it's good that you save, but it may not be the most effective form if you're just leaving it in a bank account, for example. So there are ways to improve upon that we may get into a little bit today. The third one is, well, Medicare and or Medicaid will take care of it for me. I'll be covered. But Medicare only covers a portion of skilled nursing costs up to 100 days. And then Medicaid is only available to those who have limited assets and or income. And there are a lot of other complexities that come into play with that. So it may not be the most effective solution for you either. And then the last one that I want to talk about today is my family will be able to take care of me. And this could be true for a lot of you, but it's also important to consider the negative externalities of this being chosen. For example, this can lead to a lot of depression and anxiety for the family and the people providing that care. And then there's also the possibility of lost wages for not continuing with employment to be home to take care of somebody. And that can affect the financial health of the family as a whole. So just things to keep in mind, negative externalities to keep in mind if you're considering that as an option moving forward.
Great, great points, Edgar.
Mm.
Yeah, when we kind of look at all these things, and I was looking at the numbers that are back
Mhm.
in 2000, excuse
Yeah.
me, 2020. So we're 2 years past that. I'm sure there's been some inflation adjustment that
Yeah.
needs to happen in terms of that reality as well. So yeah, this is very, very helpful stuff. So how do we pay for care? How are we going to do it? We can come up with, you kind of mentioned assets. Maybe you've got some things you can sell. Maybe you've got some old properties or some investments to sell. That's an option. You can do insurance. You guys have probably all heard of long-term care insurance. You mentioned depending upon family, it could be a big strain. Maybe if you want your kids to take care of you, I mean, it kind of goes opposite of the way you were used to. That doesn't sound like a fun option. Other relatives you might have, could set up a GoFundMe if you need it. I mean, maybe that's kind of the new way to do it. You can just hope, like, yeah, I hope I'll make it. Do a hope and a prayer, right? Like, oh, let's make sure we have some sort of care taken care of. So some of those may be decent strategies, but you really want to think about how you will need care, especially if 70%, like you were mentioning, Edgar, will be needing to use long-term care on some level where they have a couple of those activities of daily living they can't perform for themselves. This is going to be critical. So what are your best options? There's three that we'll look at here today. There's many different options, but these are the three we're going to dive into a little bit deeper. The first one is to self-insure. The second one is to get long-term care insurance. And the third one is to do a hybrid long-term care plan. So let's go through each of these and get into a little bit more detail. So the first one, to self-insure, this does leave you completely flexible. It's also one that I would say you probably just kind of end up in this one kind of by default. If you don't do anything, you are self-insuring because if you haven't made a plan, you're on self-insurance. In other words, since insurance is covering a risk that you can't mitigate, you're going to cover that risk yourself. Now, some people do choose this one on purpose, especially knowing if you have a substantial amount of assets where this doesn't become a concern, then yeah, self-insurance makes a lot of sense. But you do want to look at the magnitude of the unknowns that are out there. As you've seen, these costs are pretty high. I mean, those are hefty numbers that we looked at, and those are annual, by the way. So just looking at some of that, like if you really did need the skilled nursing, and I believe it's about a 5-year time frame that is the average. So at 110,000, I mean, that's $500,000 for just 5 years of coverage. So you want to have something substantial to get you through that if you do end up self-insuring. So yeah, just be prepared for any expenses like that that may come up. All right, second one is probably the one most people have heard of, is the long-term care insurance. So this is really transferring the risk of covering long-term care needs to the insurance company, saying, insurance company, I'm going to pay you a monthly premium so that you can make sure I'm protected. And these long-term care insurance plans do cover all levels of care. So skilled care, custodial care, in-home assistance, it's generally covered by all plans like this. Of course, you do want to check in and make sure you do have the coverage. But some of the pros of this are listed here. So it does protect your assets. So if you have long-term care insurance, you don't have to worry about the $110,000 per year, because insurance would cover part of that, if not all of it. You also have tax-free benefits. So anything that you do receive from the insurance company is not taxable on your income taxes. You can also have concierge care service. So that can be part of the insurance, where they're essentially holding your hand, making sure you've got everything that you need. And it also helps preserve your independence, your dignity, help you keep your standard of living if that's important to you, and also not be a burden to your family if that is something you wanted to do. On the negative side, or some of the cons with long-term care insurance, is you do have that cost of the premium. So depending when you get started to when you need the coverage, you do have that monthly or annually that you'll have to consider. And that premium can increase too, depending on certain factors. Usually it's based off of how a population is needing to increase that coverage, not to you specifically, but still an increase is an increase, just like inflation. And sometimes long-term care insurance can be complex, especially setting it up. You may have concerns there that need to be addressed and looked at. So you want to work with someone to make sure that's handled. Concierge care, someone asked a question of what is that? That is just someone essentially taking you through the process and making sure you have everything you need as you're going through any long-term care need. So that can be a benefit that's provided by your insurance company or whoever you're working with. Okay, and then the third one that we'll cover here is called hybrid long-term care. So again, this is transferring the risk to an insurance company, but you can see there's also a life insurance piece or an annuity that can be tied to the long-term care. So what that does is you kind of have a couple of different things working for you. I'll just explain briefly how this works. So with the long-term care insurance that we just looked at, you basically pay the monthly fee. Think of it as like car insurance or homeowners insurance. You pay it, and if nothing happens, all is good, and it's there. With hybrid long-term care, you're essentially putting a asset, a certain number of dollars, into a life insurance or annuity product that then if you did have a need for long-term care, that pool of money, it can double or triple. There's multiples of how that works, but that money becomes more advantageous for you for long-term care needs. And the beauty is, if you don't need it, then it's still there for you as an actual asset. So that's how most of these hybrid ones work. So that second point there, it eliminates the use it or lose it proposition. So in other words, with regular long-term care insurance, if you don't use it, it insured you for the moments that you had it. In this case, you can keep this hybrid long-term care and even pass on if you never use it, pass on the asset to beneficiaries, which is kind of nice. You also have flexible premium payment options. So sometimes there's one large upfront, sometimes there's a pay it over 10 years. But yeah, then it's done, it's all set. And then you do avoid any possible premium increases. Now you don't avoid inflation, so that will still go up on you, but you can help mitigate some of that with a product like this. And what this also does is that there's many different options inside of this, but you can even invest some of those assets where you do help pace inflation for some of these things, which is kind of nice. On the downside or the con side for the hybrid long-term care products is that you may not get the best coverage for life insurance and long-term care. So you're kind of blending the two together, or if it's using an annuity, you're giving up some for the other. For example, if you start using this hybrid long-term care in your lifetime, then that would reduce the death benefit that would be passed on. But the reason people get these is for the long-term care. So you don't really want to get it saying, hey, now I've got an extra death benefit for my survivors. You want to say, no, this is meant to be for in case I need it for long-term care. Okay, so those are the three. And if you guys do have other questions, feel free to ask them as we go. And we'll also have a time at the end to ask any other questions. But let's talk about choosing a long-term care policy, because a lot of times it's hard to know what to do, because this is the most common, is that you're going to get some sort of a policy, whether it's a traditional life insurance policy or a hybrid, and we can help you kind of figure that stuff out. But you want to look at these different pieces here. So look at all the features and limitations that this plan or policy may have. Like, what can it do? What does it provide for you? And what doesn't it provide? Like, some of them can be written in, it's probably not meant to be a cryptic language, but sometimes it is. So have someone look it over with you as well, as a good rule of thumb. But yeah, what does it limit? Like, a lot of them will say, well, this will only cover 3 years of a need, or you're limited to $100 per day if something happened to you. So just look at all the different features it involves. And then what type of care is covered? Again, I mentioned before, most of them cover even in-home care, those sorts of things, but just look at what is actually part of the policy. And then what benefits you'll get. What's the total benefit, total potential payout that they could do for you? And what is the waiting period? Sometimes you can have a lower premium if you extend that waiting period. So let's say you've got a good 6 months saved up, then deferring that to where this long-term care policy doesn't kick in till 6 months after you have 2 activities of daily living you can't perform, that could be advantageous to you in terms of your pocketbook, to make sure you're not paying out too much. But yeah, find out what that waiting period is. Is it 3 months, 1 month, immediately? That's good to know. And is it renewable? If you've got a regular policy, you want to make sure it's renewable. Like, you don't want to be getting into your later years and then find out, oh gosh, they're not going to renew me, that would be a devastation. So check on that. And does it have inflation protection? So will some of that increase with inflation? That's kind of a big buzzword right now over the past couple of months, but you want to make sure that's part of your plan and part of your policy if you're, because cost of care will go up. That's just a given. With anything, cost of goods goes up, so this may go up even more. And then waiver of premium is another option that you can have on there, where once you have these two activities of daily living you can't perform, will they then waive the premium on a regular policy moving forward so that you're not paying them as you're also getting a paycheck from them for the care. So those are some considerations.
Yeah.
All right, Edgar, what do we do with all this information?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do, but I just want to take a moment to address that. Finding out that waiting period is one of the most important things that I have observed when working with these types of policies, because if you have to wait 30 or 60 days to start receiving these benefits, that should be something that's considered in the planning process as you're buying this so that you can anticipate those needs in the future. So just want to re-point that one out. That's an important thing to do, and we help with that as well at our office. So next steps. So we've covered a lot of different things, 3 different products, a lot of myths. Well, what do we do from here? What can we go ahead and do? So what I would encourage all of you to do, whether you're a client or someone new to the firm, go ahead and text the word CARE, C-A-R-E, to the number that you see on the screen here. It's 458-777-4458. To schedule a complimentary consultation. So we would love the opportunity to sit down, review your situation, and kind of guide you to where you need to be in this term of planning for long-term care. So all of our wealth advising staff are well versed in these topics, and we'd be more than happy to assist any of you. And also with that, we just have a few fun disclosures to share with all of you. So our broker dealer that we do business with is LPL Financial. They are the largest independent broker dealer in the country. And that is a benefit to our clients because we have freedom to choose a lot of different investments. We don't have proprietary products that we're tied to that we sell here. And there's a few other benefits there listed on the screen. And then, a little bit more here, we can get the speed reading going if you want to read all of that. But it's just more disclosures for all of you. And also, we are going to have a few minutes here at the end to answer some questions. So if you have anything, feel free to add it to the chat box or the Q&A box, and we'd be happy to answer questions at this time.
Yeah, that's great. And we're going to go back to the texting number if we can be of assistance at all. Also, clients, current clients, if there's any conversations we should also have. In addition, we'd be glad to have this around the long-term care policies as well. All right, we'll give it just another moment for any final questions here.
Yes. And there is a lot that was covered today. So if you prefer to come in and do an appointment, totally understand if you want to save your questions for that too. So we welcome that as well. So
great. Well, looks like we covered most everything already. So yeah, again, text the word CARE to the 458-777-4458. Be glad to assist you in any way that you need.
Yes. All righty. Well, thank you all so much for your time. Have a great rest of the week.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.